Survivor specialist Phil and Will are back. We're a day late, but it was okay. It was worth the wait. That episode was amazing. I want to start off by completely apologizing to Julia. We did our 3-3-3. I put her at no shot, and she had 1% chance to win. After last night's episode, I honestly believe – now, I'm not saying she's going to win, but she is in the best position to win this game. I just can't believe what I said on Sunday. I can't believe what I said. So anybody who says Phil's an idiot from Sunday, I just came out and confirmed that I'm an idiot, so we don't need to read any of those comments. We don't need to hear any of them. Man, that was one impressive episode by Julia. One really intense all the way around. Got some cool bullying. We'll get into that. That was dope. Let's go, man. Let's hit it. Let's go, Will.
Yeah, and I just want to say before people, call you an idiot for having Julia and your bottom three can't win, I had her all the way up at number 4. So she was in the contender, but very close, right on that edge of a front runner. So while you call Phil an idiot, you can give props to me. Those comments are welcome. Those tweets are welcome. We will read those. Let's get into this. It continues to just kick it. I think second chances, but I mean, I'm loving the season so much more. At this point in second chance, we had a couple cool votes. We have characters that we know, but I mean, the gameplay has been really great, and the character moments have been pretty much just as great also. So I can't complain. I'm loving the season.
Dude, this last episode was seriously – I think this might be my favorite episode since the Kaoh merge. And I've actually been able to let that sink in a little bit, and I really believe that. I think right now we're sitting with 3 of the most entertaining, but 2 of the most entertaining and 2 of the most despicable villains of all time. I really believe that. I think they're despicable and they're entertaining. I thought last night they were great, and I wanted to punch them in the face. I think this is the most interesting group of girls we've had probably, God, I don't even remember.
Since Micronesia.
I mean, to have probably since this whole group of girls that they cast here, they could put them on every single season. Every one of them is phenomenal. Everyone. You think about the ones who went early. We got Will's girlfriends going early with Liz and Anna. And you look at who's left in the game. Michelle is the most boring one out of all of them. I just have to play up the Michelle thing because I have her as my winner pick. But she's the most boring out of all of them. And that's really not even an insult in the season.
Yeah, she wasn't like the standout, but she definitely had a lot of, interesting things to say. I think she killed it at Tribal. We'll obviously get there. She had a couple very, smart points right off, her brain. So good for Michelle. And like you're saying, Julia and Aubrey, Sydney, Debbie, the other females we had, all great characters.
Alicia, who was that's the only one we didn't name drop. So you have to throw it out there. I mean, you do.
Yeah, there's your 9. I guess Jenny would be the 9th.
That's right.
And even she got a bug in her ear, so she was fun to watch also. Let's take this from the top. I think I'm starting to do this every episode, so maybe we'll just make this a segment. But we always talk about the edit. And I've been lately talking about the previously on Survivor edit because it's not always telling the same story that it told the previous episode. And previously on Survivor this week, they gave the Nick boot, all that credit went to Sydney. But in the episode last week, it seemed like Julia and Michelle were getting most of the credit. So it was totally built up as Sydney's move. And then another interesting point, they really highlighted Ty's mistake. They didn't say Ty slipped up. They said Ty made a huge mistake by saying Super Idol. So if you're looking into, if Ty can win, I don't see it. I didn't see it, when we did our 3-3-3 on Sunday, and I don't see it. I see it even less now that he's going to be the winner just because of that.
See, here's my whole thing with that. Yeah, they did. That's a great point bringing up the whole Sydney thing. I noticed that too. The whole thing with the Ty making a huge mistake, it really clearly, I know what you're saying. The editors are making us believe that it was a huge mistake. It clearly wasn't that big of a mistake because the guy, and either the girls didn't know what that Super Idol could do, or they're just hoping to drag this out long enough that they can get the guys to split up. But, it didn't actually hurt them at all. It helped. It might have helped them. I don't even know. It's so hard to tell what actually went on with that. Yeah, it was crazy how that went down.
Yeah, and I don't think, again, I think we talked about this last week. People knowing that you have Super Idol, it doesn't take away its power. If you have a normal idol, sure, that you want to keep that secret, you want to play that. Super Idol you can put together. It looks like you have to put it together before people go to, or before the votes have been read. Someone has to have both of them. But I mean, hey, it didn't hurt them at all. So I don't think it was a mistake by Ty, but the editors certainly highlighted that. Let's get into sabotage right away, or we want to touch on anything else?
I mean, I think we're going to touch on everything through sabotage. These guys, what Scott and Kyle did, I thought was, I always think that's funny. Hide the machete, hide the axe. I have no problem with that. That's funny. It's all in good fun. I know it pisses people off a lot, but that's what they're trying to do.
What do you mean good
dumping
fun?
The water on the fire, that's just being a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's funny. Like, they're being so immature, but it's it's pissing everybody off, and that's what they're trying to get under the skin. But actually dumping the water on the fire in front of everybody is just like, it's like the most childish thing. Like, other than maybe Jatia dumping whatever the hell she dumped on the fire.
Right. She burned the rice.
She did.
But I'm just saying, if you think that the axe and machete are like not that bad, then I disagree, because they can't eat that well. They can't get fruit. They can't open up coconuts. It's not as flashy, but you can't say the machete and axe, that's good fun, but the fire is not, because they can start the fire right away. They can get that back. They proved that machete and axe, they're gone until Jason and Kyle, or Jason and Scott, get back in the numbers.
You know what was so fun about it, though? And like, we've seen before people hiding the machete, hiding the axe. Yeah, but their thing is, we're going home. These guys don't know how to play socially, and they're like, screw it, we're going to make their lives miserable. So I think that this is a cool way to make their lives miserable. You do it behind their backs. They all obviously know it's you, but they can't just sit there and say it was you. Dumping the water on the fire, you did that in front of everybody. Like, now there's not even a suspicion that it was you. Now it's just known. And, like, Scott even said that when he went to dump it. He's like, well, I guess we'll just clear the air on this. I thought it was hilarious the way the girls just went about as if it didn't even bother them, even though you knew they were all fuming. For them to act like it wasn't bothering them, and Sydney's sawing open the coconut, I thought that was hysterical. And it just was a reverse troll, and I think that's funny. I always like trolling, and especially reverse trolls. That was great.
Right. This was great entertainment. I'm not saying I had fun watching this. And I'm just saying, when the axe and machete go missing after a night of a blindside and someone flips, it's like, you know who did it. I don't think it wasn't up in the air at all. But yeah, this is totally childish. This is we talked about this in Sundays. Like, Russell, he was like burning socks and hiding tools, but they didn't know it was him, and it was like on still a tribe stage of the game. This is like just so blatant, and just there's really no need for it. If you want to win this game, you can't do that. You can't pour water over the fire and then expect people to give you $1 million. So that's why I was including Kyle with Scott last week in the 3-3-3 as having no shot to win. No one will vote for Kyle unless it's a final two of Kyle and Scott.
And that's what I'm scared of. Not even scared. That's what I wouldn't be shocked at all, because they have the two idols. And yeah, the edit's not playing it up that way, but with how complex these characters have been, you can't show them in a good light the way they're acting. You literally cannot do it. So if they win, you just can't show them in a good light. But if they're sitting there in the final two, one of them has to win. But you couldn't show any of it. They should light, and they just can't do it. So I wouldn't be shocked if Kyle ends up sitting there next to Scott at the end and wins.
That would
be like Brian and Clay, dude.
Yeah, it would be, and that was season 5. That was 27 seasons ago. We haven't seen that. Man, that would be awesome. I mean, Kyle would clearly not be the most likable winner, but if he can get to the end and bring along Scott and make his case, that's, hey, you got to tip your cap if he can literally sabotage his tribe and still win. That's impressive. A couple of funny things on the sabotage. It was Scott that suggested it, and then Jason goes, "Oh yeah, like let's do it." And Jason ran off with it, like psychological warfare. I thought that was just pretty funny how his ears perked up at this idea of sabotage. And then the best part about this is Scott was talking with Joe, and Scott was like, well, you voted us off, or you flipped on us. And Joe's like, that's part of the game. This isn't. Like, even Joe knows this isn't part of the game. And Joe has not played this game at all.
Exactly. And Joe's clueless, and here's my thing with Joe now. Out of everybody left in the game, I don't want Scott Pollard to win, but if he somehow pulls it off, good for him. I don't know how he did it, so good for him. Everybody left in this game, I'm okay with them winning, really, except Joe, just because of the gameplay aspect. Joe hasn't done anything. What I want to know is, because Joe can turn it around right here, where does Joe go now that his alliance voted off his closest ally, and he either goes to the girls who just got rid of his closest ally, to the guys who he absolutely despises. What? And Joe is a stubborn old dude. Like, his thing, he doesn't want to be with either of them. So what does he do? What does he do going forward? And, like, we don't have to answer that right now. We can talk about it at the end. But, like, that's just something that needs to be thought about right now.
Right. I think it's not – I mean, I get what you're saying. I don't think it's that big of a mystery, though. I think at least Aubrey went up to Joe and explained, this is why I want to vote Debbie. She is too trustworthy. She's saying plans in front of people we shouldn't be trusting. She can seriously, jeopardize our game. Gave her all the reasons. Joe wasn't down. It's not like they pulled one over on him. I mean, I'm sure he was a little bit shocked that Aubrey got the votes, but she expressed that, and he could have, voted with them. For him to go to Scott, who he just had an altercation with, and, to Kyle, I mean, I guess he could go to Ty. I don't think they have much of a relationship, though. I think he has to go back to Aubrey. I mean, where else can he go?
Yeah, and that's where I'm getting, like, this whole Tarzan thing from him now. Like, now he really doesn't have a choice. He doesn't even have an alliance with them, really. But, like you said, where else can he go? And I just wanted to bring it up because this is a guy, he made it so clear he wasn't going to vote for Debbie. He never wanted to vote for Debbie. He thought it was dumb to vote for Debbie. Their guy so much. He's stuck in the middle, which isn't about 10 days or whatever the hell it is that's left. He's not going to have any fun. He's going to be a miserable old man out there for these last couple days. Maybe not two other people, but definitely in his mind, he's going to be like, screw this stink. I'm not having any fun.
I mean, yeah, it's the Rick, Keith, Tarzan kind of character that just kind of has to float along for the ride, not going to win, not really going to make moves. I mean, he will be a vote down the road, but, he's kind of I would rather him go earlier so we have a finale, that's packed with characters that can win and characters that will fight for it.
I saw somewhere online, because I was looking at it a little bit today, somebody online said, what happens if it is still a final three and Joe goes to the end with Kyle and Scott, and he kind of pulls a Bob and wins this thing just like Gabon, because this season is just like Gabon now. It really is. We don't know who's going to win. The power keeps shifting. There's really despicable people on the season, but there's really great people on the season. There's great characters. There's good, protagonists. There's good antagonists, but you don't know who's going to win. And somebody said, what happens if it's just because Joe is sitting there next to two despicable people and he pulls it out? You can say this guy deserved it. Although I think Bob played a good game in Gabon. I mean, could you see a parallel there? Because this season is just like Gabon right now.
Oh, yeah, there are tons of parallels, and Gabon's one of my favorite seasons. I think I had it 4 in our rankings. You can check out Phil and I. We ranked the seasons. If you haven't watched that already, you can find that on our channel page. But I just think if Joe were going to win and pull this out, we would have seen just a little bit more of him. I know he's like here and there, some parts, but Bob, everyone loved Bob. They would like chant his name. He was just got so much more up to this point in the season. I'm not saying it's impossible, but man, it's really unlikely. I had him all the way at the bottom last week, like as he can't win.
So did I. But I'm just throwing it out there as a thing here because if you look at what this episode set up, now you have these 3 guys with 2 idols and possibly Julia going. It's not hard at this point. It'd be hard for them. Now, Julia, I'm not convinced is with them, considering she actually did vote against Debbie instead of voting against Sydney. So she didn't really vote with them. But these guys have 2 idols. Could they, if they put them together, they got a super idol. If they don't put them together, then they still have 2 idols. It's going to be very hard for the girls to overcome this right now. And it's going to be interesting to watch this play out. The only way that they overcome this is if they actually are all tight, they vote for one of them next week, and somebody gets blindsided because they had no choice. They let the guys decide who goes home, which is probably Sydney. And then it's 4-3, and you just hope that your 4 stay together because right now they're in a tricky position. This episode set up for very, very tricky position.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, it's not like they even pulled the numbers. It just kind of worked out. We're 4-4 now, men, woman, or if you want to go 4 with Julia joining, the 3 scoundrels, I guess. But the super idol, at this point, you've got to think there's something up with – they kind of can put the clues together because Ty said super idol last tribal council. And then they did this whole charade of like making sure Ty had 2 idols. None of them played any idols. That's got to be really suspicious. Like, why wouldn't they play at least one? So you've got to kind of think maybe you can put them together. Do you think that's in their heads and that they can use that to their advantage?
I think it's in their heads now, but I don't know if it's in their heads before. Like Debbie's exit interview, she tried to say like, "Oh, we knew all along. I knew I was going home." Like this, that, and the other thing. It's like I don't buy it, because if you know that they're going to do that, then you don't have a choice but to try to vote one of them out this week and hope. Like, you don't have a choice at that point. So for them to sit there like they knew, I don't think they knew. Now I think they know. But my whole thinking is, they heard Super Idol. They assumed the Tony Idol, the Yule Idol, the Terry Idol, the Gary Hogaboom. Not even the Gary Hogaboom. But I think that that's what they assumed. And I think that's why they didn't really know what to do, because they're like, oh, well, these guys are just going to play the idol afterwards. But then when they each saw an idol, just thought they were normal idols and that the Super Idol wasn't a thing yet. But now I think it's in their head. Now right. I think for sure it's in their head.
I mean, I think, but if you're thinking it's that Tony Idol or that Terry Idol, that Yule Idol, if it's that idol, you need to put it onto someone and make them play it, and make them play it after the votes have been read, because that's the only way you can get rid of it. It's not going to go away. We assume probably Final 5 is the last time you can play it. We're not sure about that, but if you know that's out there, know that it exists, you have to do it. Get rid of it as early as you can. That's why I kind of liked Aubrey's thinking early on. Actually, no, it wasn't Aubrey. Debbie probably would have been in the right. Just stick with the vote, stick with the plan. Aubrey wanted to put it on Julia. But if that's in your head, you've got to just flush it. And I think that's what's going to happen next week. I think the Super Idol has to come out next week, because if you do that, then it's 3 people, and neither of them have an idol. So,
exactly. That's what they have to do. But
and you let the cards fall. Like, whoever gets those votes coming their way.
You just have to hope it's not you. That's really all you can do.
It's like rocks.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. But that's the only way that you can move forward in this game. Otherwise, one more week, you're screwed. Because then they have the Super Idol. All they have to do is play it once at Final 7. Now it's Final 6, and it's 3-on-3, and they will go to rest. So you're screwed. Like, you need to just bite the bullet now.
Exactly.
And see what happens. It has to happen now. So we'll see how all of this works out. You want to get into this reward? I thought this reward challenge was an interesting idea, the way Jeff didn't even have the schoolyard pick him. Joe just says, I'll sit out.
This was awesome.
We got Julia. This was fantastic.
This is why this episode was so good. I mean, we've had, interesting strategy, funny characters, villains, all that good Survivor stuff throughout the season. The reward challenge is, usually not our highlight of an episode. This was very interesting. It's almost like I wanted to see the real time of this, because it looked like from the edit, Julia just jumped really, really quickly. Like, flipped to the guys. I'll get that. I watched it again, though, and
I think she did.
There could have been some deliberation. She's like, I'll do it.
I don't know, man. It seemed like she did it quick. I think Sydney made a comment that she did it. I think she said homegirl jumped pretty quick, or whatever she said. I think this is it's a risky move by Julia, but play the damn game. She even said, I don't want to get 6th place or 5th place. She knows she was on the bottom of that alliance with Three Beauties and Sydney. She said, I'm on the bottom. So play the game and try to work with the other people, because there's only 3 of them and you. And you know that if you go to the final against any of them, you win. So I think that this was a really interesting move on her part. I think it's short-sighted of some of the other anything. And it puts a target on Julia's back. So what do? You go and you win immunity. And that's what she did. And that's why, I think Julia was phenomenal. And I think that I think this was a good to do this. And I was rooting for that. I was rooting for that team. I'm sorry. I was rooting for that team to win because of how they were acting. I knew that they were mad at Julia, so I was like, I want this to work out for Julia, because I don't want her to go home for playing the game, because everybody else is scared to play the game right now.
Right. And I agree. I like this move a lot. But, and again, this could be editing. I wish you kind of played a little more like, one of us has to do it. Like, damn, I guess I'll bite the bullet. And instead of like jumping at the opportunity. That's my only problem with the move, is just making it so obvious and just jumping on it.
Well, it helps when you have people like Debbie who are aligned with you and just going to be like, oh, Julia, you enjoy your food. I still trust you. It's like, Debbie,
yeah, that was just Debbie, though. I mean, Aubrey and Sydney were immediately, and even Michelle, like, she turned her head. If you just got to work it a little bit more. Just got a little more gamesmanship, and I think it's fine. Of course, no matter what, they're going to be suspicious when they do end up going on reward, which that reward was just, why so much delivery this season? I want to see them go to waterfalls and jump off cliffs.
Go somewhere.
Go to a volcano. I don't know if they have volcanoes down in Cambodia, but do something fun.
And that's what I really hate. So far, that's like the weakest part of this season, is that the rewards have kind of sucked. And what was I going to say? It's just like the best part about this reward is the fact that Mark the Chicken is eating with them. That's the most entertaining part to me. Here's the chicken eating with them, but that should never be even a situation, because they should be somewhere. They can't strategize that much. Can't do really anything. Although they did strategize, because I guess they were far enough away. It wasn't like the ice cream thing where it was like right behind everybody. And like Julia was open to ideas, or at least made it seem like she was open to ideas. I love the way that this is working. I've actually gone and done something for the reward.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about the actual reward as the weakest part of the season or the episode, you're really nitpicking, because that's like the last thing I want them to pay attention to and make great. So, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Now it'll be interesting, though, to see where Julia is actually going to stand after all this, because it seemed like she was open to listening to them. She did jump over with them. She wins the reward, all that stuff. Then she goes and wins immunity. Any chance she would have been in trouble, you think, if she didn't win the immunity?
Absolutely. I mean, that was Aubrey's number one target. And, of course, that doesn't mean she's definitely going home. But even if you go to Kyle or Scott with that, if you're like Sydney and Aubrey, maybe not Sydney since she just betrayed them, but Aubrey, like, look, we have the numbers, get out one of you. Julia's flip-flopping. She's telling us she's going to vote you, and make them question whether they have Julia. Because I think Scott even said it. We don't know. Like, we think Julia's going to save us. We don't know. Make them question Julia, then take out the person in the middle. They don't need to get Debbie. They don't need to get Joe if they can convince Scott and Jason that Julia is playing both sides.
Yeah. No, it's true, but I don't think there's such a divide right now. You think that Scott and even approachable by the girls, and I think anything that comes up just isn't going to work. Let's talk about Ty. Obviously, dumping the water on the fire. This was a big thing here, because you could see how afflicted he was this entire time. So here's Ty. He doesn't want to go to the dark side. Then he ends up jumping to the dark side because, he almost feels like he has to. And I really wonder, is Ty actually bad now? Or, was Ty just doing this to do this?
It was
was he doing this just to fit in? And it seemed like he was close. Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed a little bit like peer pressure, but it seemed like he was on his own, though, also. Like, he just decided, I'm going to go do this. It's not like Scott or Kyle egged him on. And I think that's the most interesting part. He's, adapting to his alliance and trying to fit in. The best part is no one thought it was Ty who actually did it. That's what makes this move so savvy, because they immediately look at Scott and Kyle because they're the, mischievous ones.
And here's the thing. Debbie comes out in her post-game interview and says, oh, no, we knew it was Ty. I don't buy anything Debbie's saying right now in her post-game interviews. It seems like she is hindsight 2020 in this entire thing, saying everything, that she knew everything that was going on. She did. She wouldn't have been voted out. She keeps saying she knew this, she knew that. She knew all the big moments that happened last night. She knew about the Super Idol. She knew she was getting voted out. She knew Ty dumped the water on the fire. If she knew all that, why is she not still in the game? So
she's coach. It's coach. It's just the delusion. It's just trying to build yourself up, make yourself look better. I mean, you look at someone like Debbie, who we said was playing a pretty good game early on, and we're saying Nick is the worst. Nick doesn't know anything about himself, and he's coming off arrogant. He leaves the game and says, man, it was all my fault, blindside, arrogant, too confident. Boom, like that's Nick. And Debbie's spinning everything in her favor. It's just a coach mentality.
It is. And I don't know if I'm in the minority here. I'm not upset Debbie's gone. I thought we saw a good amount of Debbie. It felt like Debbie was taking a downward spot. She was like on a downward spiral anyway. It seemed like she was only going to get a little more annoying every week. I'm all for her going here. I think the other girls are better players, and I'd rather see them battle it out and not have Debbie mess it up for them. And I want to see if they can actually overcome this. I think that they're all playing really good games right now, the girls. And I know we'll get to this when we actually get to tribal. I know a lot of people are confused what Aubrey's move was. I thought Aubrey made a perfect move. You just didn't expect it. And, we'll talk about that when we get there. But I think these girls are playing really well. And Debbie was only going to hurt them, I feel like. I don't feel like she was going to help. I'm all about her going. Maybe we'll see her back for 34. Maybe we won't.
I think so. I think we're going to see her back.
But, I think so too. But
I don't mind that she left. I never really had a problem with her. The best, like what you're kind of saying, the best part, she's not going to ruin someone else's game now. No one's going to be playing a perfect game. Not perfect, but have something great set up, and Debbie goes out and ruins it. We have a pretty fair, level-headed, except for maybe Scott. But even when he poured the water on the fire, it was so deliberate. It was like just slowly, I'm just going to shove this in your face. The fact that no one like raised their voices or yelled after Scott did that is just insane. We've seen so many fights on Survivor over the pettiest things, and then someone does that in front of you, and no one bats an eye. They just keep sawing open coconuts. So
that's it.
Debbie was kind of the one I thought maybe she would flip out.
Yeah, because you know what? It's one of those things. They know that if they flip out, that's what he wanted. And I think it was Aubrey who was saying it to the camera, but she was talking about Debbie. It's like, Debbie, this is what they want you to do. Or maybe it was the other way around. Whoever it was like, they want you to get riled up and vote for one of your own. They want to take the target off. They want to get you guys feuding, and that's what they tried to do, and it really did work. I think that as dumb socially as these moves are, and as much as it's just putting a nail in your coffin, dude, it worked.
I don't give any credit to
Debbie wants to get rid of Julia. I'm just saying the whole shenanigans worked. I'm not saying just one specific thing. I just think the whole thing worked. I do. That's why one of the girls went.
No, I just 100% disagree with you. I'll just make my point. What I'm saying is, if Scott and Jason, Ty, they're not up to their antics and they're on the bottom, and we go to that reward challenge, I think Julia probably does the same thing. That didn't change Julia's mindset. Julia goes over, they eat Chinese food, they talk, she's playing both sides. Aubrey wants to get Julia. The same sequence of events happens. I don't think any of that like sabotage really got anyone's skin, because we saw their reaction. They were just like, all right, let's burn these coconuts and saw them open. Let's start another fire. Was it annoying? Were they annoyed? Yeah, but I don't think it changed anyone's allegiances. I think Julia would have done the same thing.
I think Julia would have done the same thing. I'm just saying, like, I do think that
that's the whole point, though. It was Julia who
still there. I think
Julia's the one who got the ball rolling.
Why'd you pause?
Julia is the one who got the ball rolling on this. So, and that did not influence her at all. At least it didn't appear that way.
Yeah.
A Mimi challenge.
But it might have influenced Julia to do what she did. Oh, fuck. Screw me, right? No,
yeah, you're done.
I think it did because she knows that she can beat all of them. She can beat all of them. How delayed are you right now? What are you, a half hour behind?
You keep trying to. Maybe it's because the internet knows that my argument is better. So there's every time you talk, it's just like going in and out. I'm just saying.
Okay, we're doing this now. Okay.
Right. I'm just letting my case be known. The pouring water on the fire didn't make Julia want to go.
I don't know. I think that I think that Julia might have gone with them because she knows that she can beat every one of them because they're being so dumb, and she took advantage of that because they knew Ty had an idol. I think they said they knew Jason had an idol. So maybe she was like, "I'll go with them. I'm gonna beat them."
Yeah, I think, but they already had that mentality anyway. They were already on the bottom and not likable. We saw many characters talk about how unlikable Scott, Jason, and Nick were on the merge episode. They were already people that were arrogant and causing, trouble at camp. I mean, this was obviously an extreme case of it, but I think Julia does the same thing. Let's go to this immunity challenge. If you're still with me here,
Sure.
Phil.
Great challenge.
Very fun challenge.
Great challenge.
We've seen things like this, but this was really cool. I loved how you had to step. It was just shocking to me how fast people were running through that thing. Like, people were like high stepping through this course. It's like, just if you go slowly, you can't lose.
What I loved about this challenge, the added element of it being on that balance beam, because we've seen this challenge, just the one that got Russell out in Redemption Island. Like, we've seen this many times, but it's normally like over the slope, and did you space them far enough? What I liked about this challenge is you space them, and you could have spaced them perfectly, but if you push it wrong and put too much bounce on your thing, you don't make it. And I thought that was phenomenal that, like, you actually had to play this challenge right to the very end. There wasn't any, oh, well, you can just restack them. No, they fell to the ground. So, like, I thought that was a really cool addition. And I thought this made this challenge, like, really awesome. There were so many people who I thought could have won. And I was really surprised when Julia came back and won.
Yeah.
After almost winning the first time.
It's one of those challenges that really could have been anybody's game. Interesting that Julia did end up winning. I know Jeff brought it up at Tribal Council that, Julia got to eat, and look, she's got immunity. I don't know if Chinese food is going to improve that much for that kind of challenge.
No, I agree. I just think what this challenge came down to is everybody has seen. It seems like everybody on the show has watched the show, or at least most of them have. And they've all seen, you just push it over, and if it's lined up right, it goes. And, like, we saw it off the side instead of falling forward. And that's what I think made this challenge so much better.
Okay, we don't need to get into fall. I mean, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. It's just the delay is
Why do you have to shoot down everything I'm saying right now?
I'm not shooting it down.
That was a great point. You couldn't wait to move on from it. That was the point.
Yeah, okay. It was. I think, okay, that's over. Right after the immunity challenge, Aubrey says, what will I do now in regards to Julia having immunity? It's not like what will we do? What will our tribe do? What will our alliance do? It's like, no, what am I going to do about this? And I think that's highlighting that she's the one in control, making moves, power position, all that good stuff. Why I had her number one for my winner on Sunday's podcast, and I still have her number one now. Do you still feel differently about? Do you feel any differently about Aubrey?
I mean, I feel like she's definitely in control of that alliance. I think what's going to help her right now. Oh, you want me to hurry up and finish this one? No, what I think is going to help her right now is the fact that Sydney is way more of a target than she is. Like the guys want to get Sydney out. They don't want to get Aubrey out. And even though Aubrey's in control, the guys are blinded by their revenge, and they want to get rid of Sydney. So I think Aubrey, she's in the driver's seat of that alliance. If they put idol, and it looks like she's going to try to talk Ty into not even making the idol again. If she could somehow pull that off, yeah, Aubrey's going to win the game. Michelle didn't really take a step back for me this week, but Aubrey and Sydney and Julia all took steps up for me. And that's really what it comes down to. It wasn't that Michelle had a bad episode. The other ones just had really, really good episodes.
I completely agree. Couldn't agree more. Pre-tribal, I think it was pretty straightforward kind of the events. It was going to be Julia. She won. So, Debbie immediately reveals the plan. They're going to split the votes. Then Aubrey gets the numbers to vote Debbie, blah, blah, blah. I think we can just go right to tribal because this rock, paper, scissors thing, this idol thing was so interesting. There's so many ways, this could have gone, and how they came up with this was the right way to play it. Talk about how the Super Idol needs to be presented. Do you have anything pre-tribal that you really want to get off your chest? I mean, I think there were a lot of moving parts, but it was, for the most part, like kind of straightforward.
My only thing is, why did Julia go and tell the guys what the plan was? Is she actually with them? Because I know she didn't vote with them. She went and told them the plan. So is she with them?
I think it's honestly kind of what she said near the end. By playing both sides, I'm in the position of power. I get to decide who's going home. And I think that was the goal. I'm going to tell the girls I'm with them. I'm going to tell the guys I'm with them until tribal. And that's when I'll decide. What was she really feeling? That's really hard to say. there's a part of me that thinks that she didn't even know. And it was just she wanted that choice.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Because she knew the guy. Maybe that's why she'd rather see Debbie go than Sydney. She thinks she has a better chance to work with Sydney than Debbie. Maybe that's what it came down to. Who knows? Let's go to Tribal, though. Like you said, so many ways this could have worked out. The guys were shooting themselves in the foot without even realizing it.
Really? I thought this was awesome. I thought they did a great job.
What I thought was, though, because they were never going to get votes, nobody was going to vote for them, I was scared that they were going to keep going and going and going. And everybody's going to be like, well, Idol's out. But everybody assumed they were playing the Idols, and that's why everybody giving Aubrey a hard time for this decision. This was the right move on Aubrey's part because the Idol still should have been flushed. It's not like she could have done anything more to flush the Idol because they didn't know exactly what the Super Idol entailed.
Right. And I mean, I get totally what you're saying. Debbie was going to go home anyway, whether they did this whole charade or not with the rock, paper, scissors. It was all just a smoke screen, really. They were never going to play an Idol. They just wanted to get 2 in Ty's hands so they could have that, Super Idol ready. But I mean, after Debbie goes home, the guys honestly think they got them to turn on each other at Tribal. That's what's funny about it. They think their plan worked. I still, just from like a gameplay perspective, I think this is really cool. We've talked about, the Malcolm, Three Amigos, Tribal Council, Caramel, and we've talked about that a lot. Like, how do you play this? You don't want to waste these idols. And I think the rock, paper, scissors thing is a really strong tactic. Leave it up to chance. There's nothing, if you're flipping a coin, there's nothing that anyone can read. They can't game your system at all. Or who are you going to play the idol for? Who does that idol belong to? I am a big fan of that kind of gameplay where you can't read me. I don't even know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I thought that was great. And I thought that the way they gave it to Ty, and Ty does is, and now I'll sit down. I thought that was all great, especially that they did it after the votes. So you do it after the votes so that everybody has their vote. Great move, like you said. And then you make the whole shenanigans of, okay, now we're going to give it to Ty. And then everybody's like, wait a second, they just gave him 2 idols. Crap, that's what the Super Idol is. And I think that's when it clicked for all the girls, but you've already voted. You can't do anything about it at that point. Now, for those who are saying Aubrey didn't flush the idols and that alliance didn't flush, yes, they did. In any normal season, the guys play their idols. Aubrey votes out Debbie, and those idols are wasted. And this is a really good move because you make sure somebody random doesn't, you get rid of somebody you want to. But in this season where the idols can be put together, you just happen to be going against both. There's nothing you can do. You can't foresee this because it's never happened before. It's never happened.
Exactly.
So what are you supposed to do?
I completely agree.
Aubrey played this perfect.
I completely agree. There's nothing, you can't assume that there's going to be 2 idols that can be put together to turn into a Tony idol. The Tyler Perry, like there's just nothing, there's no signs of that. I mean, a little bit Ty mentioned it, but to put all those, I think now they can after tonight's Tribal or last night's Tribal, but going into that, there's no way. Let's look at this though. Let's say Aubrey doesn't, spin the vote on Debbie and they stick with the 3-3. Who ends up going home? Because they all voted, the 3, they voted for Sydney. Sydney got 3 votes. Let's say Julia sticks with, then I guess it really is in Julia's hands. We won't get that answer until maybe an exit interview or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And is this like a normal idol where you have to play it before the tie? Or they just play it after the tie after you're going home too?
I don't think with the tie, it doesn't really matter.
I know. It after
I mean, let's just say
they played after.
I just lost you for a little bit there.
I'm asking, can they play the idol after the revote? Because if it's 3-3-3, you're screwed if you play the idol for one person and not the other, because the other person just goes.
No, I think it's once you vote it off is what the rule is. So you can easily play it after. I mean that's what it is. You play it after you've been voted off, not after you've been tied. So it really is this powerful. They need to get rid of it next episode, or those 2 can just waltz their way to the finale. I just want to bring up a couple of things. I know you'll like this that Michelle said when she said that Julia having immunity is great because she doesn't have to be worried. She can prove her loyalty. I thought that was an interesting point by Michelle. So kudos to her there. I don't know. It looked like Julia did prove her loyalty because she voted Debbie, but it's not completely set in stone yet. And then another thing, when Michelle said we can't really, we have to vote wisely because Ty could give the idol to Scott or Jason, whoever loses rock, paper, scissors. Michelle was on it, is what I'm saying. Like, she was reading things and processing things really quickly. So she didn't have like an exciting episode throughout, but at Tribal, I think she was making, some really good points.
And this all comes back to the Gabon point. Michelle, Aubrey, Julia, Sydney, they're getting winners edits. Like, I couldn't tell you which one of them is getting the better edit because it changes every episode. First half of the season, Aubrey and Julia weren't even contenders. Sydney and Michelle were. And now, like, you look at what happened, like, at the beginning of the merge, like, Aubrey started making her way. Sydney and Michelle were still there. And then, like this, where Julia just takes off, it's like, who's going to win out of the four of them because neither of them have gotten overbearing edits. Keep doing this, Survivor, because this is one of the best edited seasons ever. It reminds me so much of Gabon because I think, like, Bob might have had, like, one of the least amounts of confessionals ever for a winner, and like maybe like bottom of that entire like post merge was him. It's crazy how little he got. I didn't know it was coming, and that's why that season's so much fun. Great players and a lot of fun moments, and you don't know what's coming, and that's exactly what's happening in this season. That's exactly what's happening. I don't know who's going to win. It's going to change again next week.
Yeah, I know, I agree with you. We have a lot of potential winners, which is awesome. I think Aubrey still has a step up from the field, but I'd love to see Aubrey go the next episode, 2 episodes, just so it's not as, we don't have such a clear front runner. At least for me, that's what I'm feeling. One more point here. Because Neil and Nick were kind of chatting back and forth, they knew what the Super Idol was at this point. Neil had an idol himself. So Nick says they're safe for a while. So I think that, especially coming from Nick, it's like, don't take what he says to be correct because he was so incorrect on the show. Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but that kind of makes me think they're going to mess up this idol somehow. And that kind of goes into right to the preview where Aubrey's trying to pull Ty over with his idol. Don't let that super idol exist. Then you're just dealing with one regular idol. And Kyle or Scott go home next week. I don't think they're safe for a while, especially because Nick said it.
And I think Ty's good side is going to start to come out a little bit, and he's going to betray those other guys. And how funny would it be if one of them says, all right, Ty, we'll give you the other idol, whatever, and then they vote out Kyle and Ty doesn't give him the idol. Like, how funny would that be? Ty, I don't think Ty's going to win this game anymore, but how funny would that be if he does that?
Oh, wait, do you think Ty gets to keep both these idols now? Or is he going to, give –
supposedly he gave it back to Kyle.
Okay.
I think Kyle said that he gave it back. Yeah.
Okay. That's good to know, going forward. But it's not even that. It's, Kyle can have his idol. It's that second idol still is what makes the super idol. That's what's the most powerful thing in this game right now. So if Ty's not down with it, that's how it diffuses it. You don't have to take a bullet and let one of your own go like we were talking about earlier. Anything else in this awesome episode that you want to touch on?
No, I think we should go to comments. I know that there's a lot of people who were excited tweeting at us last night. So I think we just roll there. Steel Punch might have been the funniest tribal council ever. Not the best, but the funniest. I think this is one of the better tribal councils. This was just so unique and so different. And yeah, definitely hysterical, but like so unique and satisfying too.
Yeah, really. I love, again, the rock, paper, scissors thing is just great. Like gameplay, you would learn that in a game theory class. That if you can, make yourself completely unreadable is by letting chance play a role.
Yeah. Balak, do you guys think Julia's betrayal is possibly a game move? I want to hear your personally don't. I think that it is. I think that this is, if she's going to win, this is depositioned herself perfectly in the middle of two alliances that are never going to team up and vote her out. So I think this was a great move. She's aligned with the bullies, and she's still aligned with the good girls alliance.
Right, and I don't even know if you can call it a betrayal. Like, she went over and talked to them, never voted with them, got information from them. I mean, she can spin this to her girls alliance. Like, look, I just voted out one of our own because you wanted to. I provided you with information. She probably told them some information. I mean, she's coming out on top, I think, with this.
Yeah. I agree. And Curtis, when do you think Ty will play a super idol? We just said I'm pretty sure Jason tweeted that Ty gave the idol back right after, so I don't think that he's going to. I don't think that they'll do this again. They might do this again, but I don't think they'll make such a spectacle out of it. And Curtis, who do you hope goes home first, Scott or Jason? I can't stand either of them anymore. I want them off my screen. I want Scott to go first. Scott's definitely the more obnoxious out of the two.
Yeah, I don't mind either of them on the show, but I agree with you.
Yeah. Giovanni Oriana, how crazy is this season? Could this be the craziest season of Survivor? So far, it's up there. I don't know if it's the craziest ever, but it's up there right now in terms of craziness.
It is crazy, but to throw that around, it is still too early. We still have 8 people left.
I mean, it's going to depend. What was good about this episode, I hope the Super Idol goes out the window after this season because I'm tired of the Super Idol. I mean, it's crazy that it just happens where the two people who find idols end up being in the same alliance. Like, that doesn't normally happen, so it just worked out for the producers. But this is just way too powerful. It's the same thing as with Tony's idol. It's just so powerful.
I like this.
I just think it's too powerful.
Because look at the strategy that we're going to see next week. Aubrey is going to say, look, if they really figure out what the Super Idol is, and I'm pretty sure they will put it together when you have, putting 4 heads together and all these just, it's out there. You can put this together. Aubrey's going to try to pull over Ty to break up that idol, not necessarily to even get a number. So because if they have the numbers, if Julia is still with them, it's still 5-3, but they have to, do more. I'm all for it until I really see it mess up someone's game. Then yeah, take it away. But at this point, look at Kaoh Rong. Amazing season. Tony had one to himself where you don't even need 2 people. We've had great seasons with these powerful idols, and I'm okay with it.
What I think is crazy about this is that you need the 2 people, and it just worked out where this season had the 2 people. Like, the first thing you bring in, there it is. The two people are aligned, and because they're in the minority.
Yeah, no. I think that's what makes it interesting. It would be so lame if there's this super idol and then Neil has one, Kyle has one, and they just never even – it's not even an idea or a thought. Then what's the point of the twist if it's not even entering anyone's minds? So I'm so glad that it worked out this way.
Giovanni Oriana, do you think Scott, Jason, and Ty deserve any credit for surviving the Tribal Council without using their idols? I mean –
absolutely.
They have to get some. I mean, it might not have been all their fault that they didn't get any votes, but, I mean, still have both their idols. That's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, if they wanted to ensure that they would both – I guess it is the obvious move. Just put them together for a super idol. Whoever gets voted out, play it. It's not that hard to come up with, but, hey, they could have wasted one.
Oh, yeah. Oriana, how would Aubrey have gotten rid of Julia? I think the only person who would have gone through with it is Sydney. And I think this is a good point. I don't think Julia was ever in that much trouble because Debbie wasn't going to do it. I don't think Aubrey could have talked to the 3 guys to get them to do it. And if Debbie's not going to do it, Joe's not going to do it. So I don't think Aubrey could have pulled the numbers on her.
I talked about this briefly. If Aubrey and Sydney are down, and maybe even get Michelle down, which she probably could have, that's 3. I think if you tell Scott and Kyle that, look, Julia just gave us your whole plan, put her in the middle, like it's honestly the Sarah thing from Kaoh Rong. You find the person who's playing both sides, you come together, put your truths and your lies, and say, look, this person's playing us. Let's just cut them off. Boom. Because if Julia comes up with that sweet little smile, saying like giving guarantees, like I'm totally talking with you, I'm totally with you guys. If you give Kyle and Scott that little hint of betrayal that Julia has just fooled them, it's going to, eat them alive inside. They'll be totally down with getting rid of her. And it means one of them is not going home. They'll hop on board with that. Not 100% that it would have happened, but it's not like you can't say it's not at all feasible. It would have been a possibility.
It would have been a possibility, but I don't think that they could have convinced the guys. I think that there's just so much animosity between them. It wouldn't have worked.
Wait, listen here,
Jimmy O'Connor.
Hold up. This is the other option, though. They say, vote with us for Julia. And they go, no, Julia's with us. Okay. Then the other side, it's still 5. It's still, I guess it would be 4-4, but you still have 4 votes. And Julia could be either way. That's when, if you're not talking to Julia, obviously if you're talking about getting Julia out, you're not talking to Julia. So Julia's still up in the air. I think it's much more safe if you're the guys. Someone comes to you with someone else to get rid of, you hop on board if you're on the bottom. I don't know if that was so clear, but I think you get what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying. I'm not sure. I just feel like they believed in Julia more, and I think that they would have seen through it and been like, oh, you're just trying to turn us on somebody who's aligned with us. At least that's how I think they would have viewed it, because I don't think they trusted them worth shit and weren't going to believe that these girls were serious about this. And it was just, I don't think there was any trust between the two sides that could have made anything that each other said to each other believable. That's what I think.
Yeah, we'll never really know.
No. Jimmy O'Connor, probably my favorite episode of the season. Predictions are out the window at this point. Anything can happen. I think that's spot on. Jimmy O'Connor, I think Joe was right. His was a bad move on Aubrey and Michelle's part, but great for Julia as she appeased both sides. Yeah, we didn't really talk about that. Joe was he did acknowledge that, like, it kind of was this him sitting out? I think that's what he's talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Another interesting thing, how quickly Joe sat out once he heard that he could just pick a side. That was kind of funny. Johnny Burtek, MVP Julia, valid reasons this time, stepping up at the reward challenge, winning immunity, voting out Debbie, who was out for her. You knew it was coming for me. Julia killed it in the immunity challenge. LVP Jason, thinking it was a great idea to give Ty his idol when he didn't need to. They thought they needed to, so I don't have a problem with it. I think, what do you call it? I think MVP is Julia, though. I mean, yeah. I think that she's definitely it.
Yeah, she really does have to be MVP. She won the immunity, and even if she hadn't, you're making a very good case for why she could have stayed. Could have been possible for her to go home, but she really was in the power position. So, yeah. LVP.
Hard to say.
Joe, maybe?
It can't be.
Just for being so reluctant to change your mind?
I feel like it can't be Scott or Kyle, because I think everything worked out for them.
Yeah, they didn't have to waste any idols or the super idol at all. And I know that wasn't their doing, but they did loop in Julia, kind of. I know Julia hopped on board, but you're not going to fault any of them for this episode. So I say you give it to Joe, because he's just so stubborn and showing bad gameplay.
Yeah. Should understand how all of a sudden Aubrey's not on the bottom. There's the Lions, and Sydney is not with the guys. It's a quick-moving season right now. That's really what it comes down to. I mean, everything's just shifting all the time.
This season's so good. It really just – it's awesome.
It really is. Brooke, I don't get why the girls would target Debbie if they were worried about Julia playing both sides. Now she can continue. That's a good point. She definitely can just keep going. She can keep doing what she wants to do. But I think they were worried about idols, and they didn't want to get, sent out for nothing. Let's see. Giovanni Oriana, how does this tribal council compare to the one in Philippines where Malcolm and Abby Maria showed their idols?
I don't remember that one as well. It wasn't as flashy. But, anything where you're showing idols, I guess you can compare. The Mike and Shireen one also comes to mind from Worlds Apart, where Mike says he's going to play it for Shireen, but doesn't really, and just trying to confuse everybody. So,
yeah. Giovanna, who sabotaged their camps better strategically? Jason Scott, Ty, or Russell Hantz?
Russell.
I think it was Ty. You think Russell? I think Russell or Ty realized it was Russell. Well, maybe not completely, but Ty. I don't know. I just feel like Ty was able to mask it behind the other two.
I don't think we ever saw Russell get caught, though. And that's what made it so good. Like, he was doing things. People were like, I wonder where that went. It was so early in the season, they couldn't really have a read on anybody or know anyone's personalities. So he just got away with it. And they watched the show at home. Wow, you were burning my socks on day 3. Cool, man. Good try, mate.
Yeah. It's gonna be like all dependent on how Ty does, because I think people like Ty, like, just naturally. Like, nobody liked Russell, so it's hard to say what actually, if anybody found out, if that actually screwed him, if that hurt him at all. Scott and Jason didn't do it strategically at all. I thought that was just like, it's stupid. It worked, I think, but it's stupid. Like, it got under their skin a little bit, not as much as they wanted, but Morgan, Sydney, and Aubrey tonight. I think they're serious contenders. I think that's a definite for sure with the two of them now. And then Morgan, do Scott and Jason even care about jury votes? They are terrible socially. And I really don't think they do care about jury votes. I think they assumed that they were going and they just wanted to go down in flames.
Yeah, completely. And
Right.
they're going to be one of them, maybe both of them is going to be sitting there on like day 35. Like, oh my gosh, I wish we hadn't sabotaged the camp. Julia would have come to us anyway. Will was right on the podcast. Why did we do this? Now we can't get jury votes.
True, man. It's very true. Tom Azenberg, do you regret not watching the Kobe Bryant last game now, Will? Steph may have 400 threes, but Kobe dropped 60 in his final game.
Who said I didn't watch it?
They didn't play defense on Kobe. Yeah, exactly. I watched it too.
I watched both. I was in a bar that every other TV was Warriors, Kobe, Warriors, Kobe. We got Kobe audio too. So for that game, I didn't get the Warriors audio, but they're so much fun to watch. I watched Survivor after both those games.
No, I mean it wasn't on at the bar.
I requested it. I wanted the audio. I wanted to get the projector screen, but surprisingly, they didn't allow it.
That is just BS, man. Giovanni Oriana, is the domino effect challenge a metaphor for this episode? One event led to another going.
Hey, if you can say the metaphor and it makes sense, then it's a metaphor. Then it's golden.
I buy it.
I buy it too.
Chef,
actually, there's one
great.
There's one great shot in this episode. It was after the immunity challenge, and I think it was after a Julia scene, or maybe it was before the challenge or after reward. I'm not sure when it was, but it was of a squirrel or a monkey or some animal like jumping from one tree to the next, and it was just like someone's jumping over, someone's flipping. Notice that on the second watch. Cool moment. Good
I do
editing.
know what scene you're talking about, but I didn't realize it at the time. But yeah, that's cool. Chef posted a Warriors hype video if you want to watch that, Will. Johnny Burtek, best episode of the season. Two guys sabotage. The hero of the season turns villain, and the cute girl won immunity. I think it's the best episode of the season. Larry
best
Miller,
episode of the
MVP
last
Sydney.
3 seasons.
Yeah, probably. Larry Miller, MVP Sydney, LVP Aubrey for eliminating a close ally. And then he goes on to say, well, I don't think Aubrey did eliminate an ally, but it was also somebody with a big mouth. And, like, you know, you got to keep everything tight, especially on a crazy season like this.
Aubrey was going to go home, before that Neil medevac, mainly due to Aubrey Debbie, not being able to work with Nick, coming up to Ty and saying, you're in our alliance, you're good, shake on it. Like, Debbie was causing problems for Aubrey, so she was going to have to get her out eventually.
Yeah, I agree. Larry Miller, are Jason, Scott, and Ty the poor man's or rich man's Malcolm, Reynolds, and Eddie? I think they're more entertaining, but also less likable. So
I think they're the poor man's because Eddie and Reynolds and Malcolm were very entertaining too, and they're just way more likable. So poor man's, but maybe it's just the more villainous version. I think the Three Amigos were kind of underdog heroes. These guys, they have Ty, but they're mainly villains.
Yes. Yeah. Larry Miller, how many good characters are in this Gabon / San Juan del Sur fun train wreck, include pre-merge? And I think we kind of went over this at the beginning. I
hate that. Don't toss San Juan del Sur in with Kaoh Rong and Gabon. It just irritates me. It really grinds my gears. Let's not get on that trend. San Juan del Sur is so far below both of these seasons. Sorry. Go ahead.
I just want to know. I mean, I think we talked about this at the beginning. The women, this is the best group of women since Micronesia. And the guys all delivered too. I mean, other than really Joe, they've all delivered. And, Joe, I mean, they took a chance with Joe and it just didn't work out. But everybody else has delivered. So, I mean, I think 17 out of 18. Seriously.
Darnell, killing it.
Darnell. Chef, he's asking about NBA playoff predictions. Will, if you want to give those at some other time, or do you want to do it now? I mean,
there's nothing to predict. The Warriors win it all.
If the Warriors don't win it all, it's the saddest thing of all time. That's sadder than, like, I don't even know. Name a sad movie because it's sadder than that.
I don't want to go down that road. Let's not even talk. Let's not entertain that thought.
Don't think about it. I will troll you until the end of time if they lose. Sorry, man. It just has to happen. And it's not because I dislike the Warriors. It's necessary at that point.
No, it's fine. You can do that. I mean, we're not. It's funny. I mean, it's funny. We're not losing. It's fine.
Yeah. Aaron Weiner, when will there be an auction? If there was not one last season, then I'm really hoping that there is one this season. Do you think there's going to be an auction this season? I don't think there is. I love the idea of the auction. I don't think it's happening.
Next episode, if it's going to happen. I love the auction. It's always my favorite. Like when I'm rewatching a season, I hit the auction. I'm like, yes! Like I just get so excited. Hopefully next episode, because we're down to 8 now.
Yeah. I hope we see one, but I doubt it. Giovanni Oriana, do you think Nick's quote, "The guy's being saved for a while," was shown because one of those 3 makes the final 2 or 3? Do you think they're going to make it to the final 2 or 3? I know you touched on this earlier, but
I think it's the opposite. I think one of them goes home next week, and it's because Nick is saying it that we're meant to think it's wrong. But hey, just me.
Yeah, I kind of agree too. Yeah. Emily, were you guys pleased with how Debbie's story ended? Also, off-subject question, undo on Survivor. Depends on how the screenwriter wrote him to do on Survivor. But I think it's fine how Debbie's story ended. Like I said, she was starting to go downhill, so I'm glad they got rid of her before it completely busted.
Mm-hmm. She's fine. She had a good arc.
Will, what's your favorite drink to buy at a bar?
That's a tough. It depends what time of day. It depends where I am. I mean, beer is the go-to, and then like a cocktail, a margarita. If you're gonna have like a early drink or happy hour, then a margarita.
Shirley Temples. DJ Esco, Phil, your hair is flowing today. Thank you, man. I need a haircut. Also, digging Will's Warriors shirt. Congrats, 73-9. Would like to comment that Ty is getting a little annoying, and I think Sydney is going to win the game.
I still don't see Sydney winning, but she is going way up. She can. Yeah. She can do it.
I agree. I think her episode last night was great. I thought her episode last night was great. All the girls, it's got to be a girl this season. It just has to be. There's no way a guy wins this season.
That Kyle Scott final 2. Maybe Nick is right. Maybe they will be around for a while.
Yeah, maybe. All right, Will. That's it for Twitter.
And I know we already are a day late on this, but we're thinking, because next week we're going to do power rankings. There's only 8 people left, and we can't really fill a podcast with 8 people power rankings. We don't have our 3-3-3 that we did last Sunday, so it's going to be a full-on comment show, questions. Maybe we can get a little bit more off topic if we want, even though we do have a lot of comments to get to already. So get your comments in. We're going to read the ones from tonight and from last night. Save that for this weekend's podcast so that we, actually we don't have to, I have Scott at number 7 and spend 10 minutes talking about it. It just, the power rankings are going to be easier as the show winds down. So thank you for getting your comments in. We are at 666 subscribers right now, which is just terribly unlucky. So I'm hoping like 10 people do it at once. So we just shoot up to 676, but we just need one of you to subscribe right now, and we won't, have the devil's curse on us.
Yeah, man, because maybe that would curse the season. So everybody end the curse for the season too. We don't want that.
Vote for LVP and MVP. I think we kind of sorted it out, but if you have any other people you want to nominate, go ahead and do that. Like the video as always. And Phil, do you have anything else?